You are listening to We Are the Compassionate Revolution. I'm your podcast host, therapist, author, boundaries guide, Molly Moon. If you are a compassionate person and you want to know your worth, set better boundaries, live from your truth, and operate in your fullness, then I am so glad you've joined us. You ready? Let's get started. If you've got a problem, maybe a relationship, maybe something else, but you've been spinning in your head trying to find the perfect solution that will not upset anyone, or if you've been telling yourself, okay, fine, it's a problem, but I'll deal with it later, while living in quiet resentment or exhaustion, you are not alone. In this episode, we're talking about the hidden costs of staying stuck and how procrastination and perfectionism sabotage the boundaries and the change your soul is longing for. For many compassionate people, we like to keep the peace. We don't like to rock the boat. Many of us have an aversion to conflict, or at the very least, we don't go looking for conflict. I'm defining conflict today as an opposition, an incompatibility. In essence, this thing is not working. It's doing harm to leave it as it is. We got to do something about that, but it will not be fun to have to get into it because the solution is not immediate or easy. Speaking of which, what's the first image that comes up in your mind when you hear the word conflict? Notice what comes up. Because usually the image that arises is not a fun one. And our experiences of conflict are usually not so fun either. Because when conflict is not healthy, it often results in hurt feelings, somebody winning while the other person or group loses, or violence, harm, or just a bunch of drama that never gets resolved. And that sucks. So why would we want that? No wonder we don't like conflict. Oh, and then if you're wired to be empathic, not only are you experiencing the conflict for yourself, which is terrible, but you're also feeling all the feelings and hurts involved for everybody else in the conflict. Oh my gosh, no wonder, right? We have an aversion to conflict. And then sadly, we have not had a ton of examples in our lives of people handling conflict well. Conflict can be handled well, by the way, but that's not what most of us have experienced. So all of this combines to make our brains want to avoid conflict, which makes total sense. But what ends up happening, and this is because the human brain is famous for overgeneralizing, is that any conflict is then seen as a problem to be avoided. Now, just to be clear, I am so not picking on our brains, because it's a lot of work to be a brain. Brains are calorie-eating machines, so when they see a way to cut corners, they take it. And most of the time that's helpful for us, but in this case, not so much. Because some conflict is a waste of our time and energy, but not all conflict. But because the brain has said, oh, okay, I got it. Conflict is bad. It then overgeneralizes that rule to include all the conflict, and then we are set up to instinctively avoid even the conflict that would be good for us to engage with. Speaking of conflict, as compassionate people, we tend to avoid it in one of two main ways. See which one of these you relate with the most. Plan A is the procrastination plan. We think, I could do something about this problem later. And that feels kind of good later. So we put the decision off and we try not to think about it. And later just never really comes around. This is the procrastination plan. It is a classic and it is very popular. It might involve a little dissociation, lots of distraction techniques. Maybe you'll need to develop an addiction or two just to keep the stressful feelings down while trying not to think about the thing that needs your attention. But hey, the procrastination plan keeps conflict at bay, or so it seems. Or maybe your preference is plan B, the perfection plan. This is where we tell ourselves we will make a decision, we will do something, but only once we're absolutely certain we've found the perfect choice. And that is the choice that will not create any conflict at all and will cause zero discomfort and zero disturbance for anyone, which is impossible, by the way. So the perfection plan method leads to overthinking, overanalyzing, and wearing a deep groove in your brain from running the same damn problem around and around in your head while never actually doing anything in the real world where the problem actually exists. So in a way, Plan B is just procrastination hiding in a perfectionism costume, and it comes with a shit ton of anxiety. Let me show you how this looks in real life. So let's say you're in a bad relationship. Maybe it's a toxic workplace, maybe it's a close friend, maybe it's a marriage. Whatever it is, it's just not healthy. And honestly, it's probably never going to be. You know that. They're not changing. You're not being treated well. It's not good for you. You're unhappy, but you're also committed. And if it's been years, then all sorts of ways you're tied together. Financially, emotionally, relationally. Changing things is gonna be miserable and uncomfortable and hard. If you do decide to leave, you probably will feel amazing eventually. You know that. Your friends have told you that. But it's gonna take a hot minute to get there. Conflict is gonna come first. You will not be able to keep the people pleased and still end things. Plus, ending a relationship is miserable even on a good day. It's not gonna be fun. So you put it off. You choose plan A, procrastination. Everything's fine, it's good enough, it'll all turn out in the end. You literally sing to yourself, you lull yourself with happy thoughts. You're like a walking positive meme board, the miracle is right around the corner. They'll change someday. Or maybe it's, eventually I'll figure out how not to get hurt so much and then it'll be fine. There's a lot of toxic positivity happening here. Maybe some spiritual bypassing too. Using faith or hope to avoid a hard decision. And what we say when we're doing this sounds good on the surface. It's full of hope, but it's not congruent with what is actually happening. And here's the thing. You can do this and blink, and 5 or 10 years will have passed. Some of you are listening saying, yeah, try 35 years, right? This approach kills time. Yeah, you successfully avoided a conflict, but did you? Because now you've spent 5 or 10 more years deeply unhappy in a situation that is not good for you, and likely now with new problems added because you have had to develop ways to avoid your own feelings. Because here's the truth, we can't feel our feelings when we're pretending everything's fine. In order to do that pretending, we have to take the experiences we are having in our bodies and pretend like we are not having them. We have to avoid, evade, push down, dissociate. And dissociation is an act against the body. By the way, dissociation is a protective mechanism of the body for times of trauma. It has a place. In fact, it can do great good when we're in those situations where we had no choice in what was going on. But dissociation is not supposed to be chosen when we do have other options. So when we force ourselves not to feel what we feel, not to experience what we are experiencing, we do a kind of violence to our human body because the body feels. It can't not feel. The body experiences. It can't not experience. Yet we're telling it can't. So what we're really doing when we avoid a needed conflict is we're avoiding one kind of conflict, the outer kind that would bring about change, but we're trading it for a different kind, the inner kind, that's going nowhere. It's a conflict that gets waged inside of us against our own selves. This can hurt to hear. I promise you I get it. But I also love you, Plan A people, and if we, as compassionate folks, are going to step into our power, this is the kind of stuff we have to talk about. because this is what's been keeping us from our power. And by the way, if you picked plan B, you are not off the hook. Let's look at what happens if you go with the I can't make a decision until I find the exact perfect solution that solves everything and causes zero discomfort and guarantees it will all work out perfectly plan. Okay, so there you are, trying to find the perfect solution, unhappy, hurting, miserable, and not going anywhere. Because you can't. Because you can't take action until you find the perfect action. And since that action doesn't exist, you are stuck. Meanwhile, what's happening in your body? To your physical health? Oof. To your mental and emotional health? Oof. While you're anxiously trying to figure out how to do the impossible? Because this method is literally how to give yourself a grade A anxiety disorder if you didn't have one already. Because this plan locks us into an almost compulsive brain loop that ends up creating a life of its own, and it wrecks us. And again, did this plan help you actually avoid conflict? No. It helped you avoid a conflict. It helped you avoid that external conflict, but it sure didn't help you avoid this conflict, did it? In fact, I'd argue that for both of these methods, plan A or plan B, they inadvertently create way more conflict than they ever save us from. They actually cause the very thing they're trying to help us avoid, which is not what we meant to do, but that is what is happening. And we're experiencing far more harm done to ourselves because of it. Because avoiding the conflict, whether it's procrastination or perfectionism, avoiding the conflict of taking steps towards change keeps us, first of all, in the harmful relationship, whatever that is, so that harm keeps happening, and requires us to develop and use dysfunctional coping skills in order to stay there and not lose our minds. So we end up forcing ourselves to live in a way that is not aligned with our highest good, and we get stuck because both methods, whether it's procrastination or perfectionism, they're closed loop methods. And what I mean by that is, when should you stop procrastinating? Well, maybe tomorrow. Yeah, I'll stop procrastinating tomorrow. Do you see what I did there? It's really tricky, isn't it? That's how it gets us. And when should you stop trying to find the perfect way of approaching the problem that's going to keep all the people pleased? Because then our brains are like, but, what if a solution is right around the corner? I mean, I've just worked so hard on this. What if the solution's right there? Maybe if I just think about it 50,742 more times, I'll find the answer then. It becomes almost like an addiction unto itself to obsess on the problem. And partly because that nonstop thinking loop feels like you've got to be making movement towards change because look at all this movement. But yet it's movement where you never actually go anywhere. It's just a big hamster wheel of overthinking. By the way, if you're wondering why I am so good at describing both of these methods, it's because I've done them both. And I've sat across from countless wonderful people on the therapy couch, brilliant humans, caring humans who've been stuck in these same traps. So there is no shame here. There is no blame here. These are common pitfalls for compassionate people. These are traps that catch a lot of us, especially before we heal and before we find our boundaries. And that's why we're talking about it today, because it's time to change this. So now what? One of the biggest missing pieces for compassionate people as we heal and come into our power is boundaries, because we've been trained not to have any. And I've experienced that not only in my own life, but with tons of people I've worked with as a therapist, fellow counselors, physicians, teachers, social workers, people who care. We know we need boundaries, but how? And then if we try to have some, we feel selfish, guilty, or mean. That's why I have such a strong focus on boundaries, because boundaries are integral to our empowerment. But people like us need to discover our boundaries in a way that actually works for our compassionate hearts. And that's what my Boundaries Breakthrough mini course is all about. It's just $19, it's packed with value, and it's so easy to do. You can get the Boundaries Breakthrough mini course at boundaried.com. That's boundaried with a D.com. The link is in the show notes, and I hope you have a blast in the mini course because it was really fun to make for you. Something I found incredibly helpful for me was to develop a new way to conceptualize my time. Time is something we don't think about a lot, not in this way. The finite nature of our lives, the fact that there is a starting place and there is a stopping point. Because, while we're alive here, at least right now, it feels like it's going to be forever. It's easy to think that until someone close to us passes and we're suddenly reminded, this life has limits. But then it's easy to get lulled back into thinking, I'll just be here forever, but we won't. We don't have endless years. And when we look at the situation we've been stuck in, we have to say, I've been giving years to this situation. And for what? What has it gotten me? And often our answer is, just more pain and suffering, which is actually really helpful to see, not comfortable to see, but very helpful to see. This avoidance trap and the inward conflict we carry inside of our bodies because of it, it doesn't just cost us our peace, our emotional health, or our physical energy. It costs us our time. And not in some vague someday kind of way. I mean our actual, lived, sacred time. Because every single day we stay stuck, we are spending our most valuable currency, the one thing we can never get back, on something that is not giving back to us. Time is not something we just lose. Time is something we spend, whether we're aware of that or not. Time is a currency. The really cool thing is you receive it freely. But the important element we must remember is that it is limited in its scope. We only get so much. So I want you to picture it like currency, like beautiful golden coins, and you get an allotment of those golden coins every single day. And you get to spend those coins on experiences. Like in a video game, you get to choose. In whatever areas you have the power of choice in, you get to choose what you spend your time on, where you give your time, where you go, who you do it with, what it feels like to be you, the environment you're in, the future you are building for yourself. Ooh, but we have not been taught to think about our time like this. We are not taught to have sovereignty over our time. Most of us as compassionate people, we are taught to give our time away and to not even register it when we do. To think of our time as no big deal. But it is a big deal, and it's precious. You have agency when it comes to your time. In the areas in which you have power, you have agency. So if you are in a difficult situation, maybe a relationship, maybe a workplace, do you want to be giving away your beautiful golden coins to that situation? Now, if you hear from your inner truth that you're meant to stay, that's one thing, and that can happen. There are tough situations out there, and my hat goes off to all the beautiful humans in those situations doing the hard things. Those situations can be truly amazing, truly beautiful. We can have a partner get waylaid by a chronic illness. We can have a parent with dementia. And now, it's super hard for everybody involved. But you're supposed to be there, serving and loving in that situation. And when you know that, there's beauty in that. And there's real growth, real learning that happens in those hard places. So if the deep message from your bones says, yes, this is your classroom for now. It is hard, but it's healthy in that this is for you. Then honor that. It truly is beautiful. But here's the thing. When it is a toxic situation, it is not for our highest good. We don't need the character growth that's going to come from staying and doing hard things because we're already hardworking people. We are already highly responsible, deeply loyal, compassionate. We can totally stay even when it's hard. We're good at that. But in these toxic situations, this isn't that good kind of hard. This is harmful hard. It's like with a workplace. There are those jobs that are hard, but they're rewarding and they're worth it. And then there are jobs that suck away our soul. It's different. And interestingly, when it's a toxic or unhealthy situation for us, then when you do go deep and listen in, and I mean really listen in for the message inside your bones, you'll hear it. The message from your bones usually says, go. It's time. This is done. Receive the lessons, receive the wisdom, move on. You do not have to stay in this classroom anymore unless you just want to keep suffering. And there's nothing left for us in staying when it's like that other than increasing the harm done. And the things you have to do to avoid facing the conflict, if you want to stay in avoidance, that's also so important to take into consideration because it's not just the situation itself, it's the avoidance techniques we engage in that take an extra toll on our body, our health, our spirit. My general rule of thumb is if the cost of staying is self-abandonment or self-betrayal, then it's not a classroom anymore, it's a trap. So, take a breath and step back. Move your body a little bit if you need to, if you've been sitting for a while. And think of time as currency. Might picture those golden coins in your mind. This gift that you get, this gift that I get, this sacred, finite gift of time. And ask yourself, do you want to keep depositing your precious gold coins into a place that has run its course? Into a relationship, a role, a pattern that no longer nourishes you, no longer teaches you, and might even be actively harming you? And yes, embarking on a path of change will not be easy. It will most likely not feel good right away. Might not feel good for a while. But the difference is when you stay in the energy of avoidance, damage is being done. It's like you are essentially throwing your gold coins into the void, literally spending your time coins on misery. Versus when you step into the energy of change, it's so different. Suddenly, the way you're spending your gold coins feels like an investment, because you're depositing your gold coins into a different life, into a future filled with possibility, with real hope instead of fake hope, into a life where you no longer have to dissociate, where you can feel and experience and be and breathe and heal and become. We compassionate people are so strong and so amazing. And yes, together we are the compassionate revolution and we collectively have the power to change our hurting world. But how many of us are stuck, locked in the trap of avoiding the situation we need to face? We're trying so desperately not to create any outer conflict while living in constant inner conflict that is waging war in our bodies, that is draining our energy, draining our spark. What would life feel like if you were free? And as you heal, and as you become boundaried, what beauty will move through you? You don't even have to do anything grand, just existing as your full self in this world. Oh, that is medicine, not just for you, but for all of us. Showing up for your life instead of avoiding it. That is a brave and holy and revolutionary act. Now, this is a process, right? It doesn't just happen overnight. But the biggest shift begins inside of us when we allow ourselves to acknowledge the truth. Yes, I do need to take action. No, I don't want to keep avoiding this. Yes, the current cost is too high. I no longer want to deposit my gold coins into this classroom. It's not even a classroom anymore. I'm getting nothing out of it. And even if I don't know exactly what to do yet, I'm going to figure it out, one step at a time. It's important that we don't pressure ourselves to figure out all the practical details today. Many times the practical outward changes are going to be a year or two out because there's inner work that has to be done to prepare the way. And that is okay. That's really healthy to notice, in fact. For now, it's just letting the inner truth settle. Take it in. Holding that image of the golden coins in the heart and asking, okay, where do I want to invest my precious time, and what support might I need on this journey? Maybe it's legal advice. Maybe it's getting sober. Maybe it's emotional healing, therapy. Maybe it's boundaries work so that you can begin creating the inner boundaries you need in this situation so that you're ready when the time comes to make the change. Let your heart speak. It's going to tell you what you need for support. And I promise you, your whole body will rejoice as you give it permission to be in your life again. Your body's been waiting for this moment, longing for it. If you want to, you can even speak this over your body and let it know you're not going to be avoiding reality anymore. And by the way, if you do that, it's okay to be honest. In fact, do be honest. Do not lie to your body. It already knows the truth, so there's no point in faking anything, You can say something like, hey, body, I'm so sorry I've been doing this to you. It was the best I knew to do with what I had, but I am learning differently now. So there's going to be some changes coming, though I don't know how to do this yet, so please be patient with me. I promise you, I am committed to learning how, to figuring this out. Time is a currency, I just realized that. Well, I'm going to use it to become, to take up space, to actually live, and to treat you better. Because we're here for a reason. We're going to figure this out. I'm here now. And you might even notice how your body feels when you say that to it. Probably feels pretty good. For some of you, it might be a little suspicious. Your body's like, yeah, okay, I'm down, but I'll believe it when I see some action. And if your body responds to you that way, hey, it's fair, right? It's got boundaries. It needs to see you showing up before it can fully relax. So, okay, then show up. And that, again, does not mean changing your situation immediately, because it might not be safe for you to rush out and break up with your relationship at this moment. It might not be time for you to go into your toxic workplace and quit. You have bills to pay next month. This is going to take a minute. But here's what's important. You have just shifted from the energy of avoidance to the energy of action. And oh, baby, this is a beautiful thing. Whew. So now you need to support the actions to come. Now is the time to get whatever support you need for the change that is coming. And please do not wait, because old habits won't let go unless you do something different. We know this, right? We say we're going to change something, but we do nothing to support the change. What happens? Nothing. We've watched people we love do this all the time. That's why they haven't changed, and the same thing's true for us. You'll go right back to the old habits because they're built in, they're habitual. In order to change, our old habits need support. New skills, new guidance, new ways, new tools. If boundaries are part of what you know you need support with, it would be an honor to get to support you. I'd love to help you. If you haven't worked with me before, I'd suggest starting with my mini course, The Boundaries Breakthrough. It'd be a really good first step without being overwhelming, and then you can decide from there if you need more support or if you're good. But that's what I want most for you, whatever it is, that you are supported, that you get the tools, the resources, the love, the encouragement as you move forward at the pace that is right for you. That's important. The pace that is right for you. And if you can imagine it, there are healing hands reaching out to help you choose to move up out of avoidance and into the energy of change. There are those of us who've gone before you. We want to help you. You don't have to stay down there. We want to lift you up. Mine is one of those hands if you know that boundaries are needed, but I don't care what hand you take. The hand you take doesn't have to be with me. Just take one. And don't get stuck in shame here. It's hard to begin waking up to all of this. And at first it can seem like, oh my gosh, why have I been stuck here so long? How come I didn't see this earlier? But listen, please, you're not behind. You're right on time. You're not broken. You're not alone, and it's not too late. It is never too late to wake up. Many people live their whole entire lives and never do that. But you are. How cool is that? How precious is that? And I am so glad to be here with you during this beautiful time in your life. It is a great honor, a great honor. Thank you for that. My compassionate friend, I am so glad you're with us. We are the compassionate revolution. We are the change the world needs, and we're becoming it. If you loved this episode, please share it with a friend or give this podcast a 5-star review. I'd appreciate it so much. And if you'd like to get practical and work with me more closely on boundaries, you can come visit me at boundaried.com. That's boundaried with a D.com for amazing resources. Because this is how we do it. One action at a time. We are moving into our power. And I'm so proud to be in this movement with you.